Hello True Believer, today we're going to go through Scratch Activity 3, Create a Maze. So you should be able to find this activity located on Schoolbox, located here, under Tutorial 3 Iteration, and just click on this document here. You will need this maze file unless you want to create your own maze, which you can do via this website, www.mazegenerator.net, and you literally type in the different widths and heights that you would like. So you can change this to 10, this to 10, generate new, and then you can save that image and then edit with that if you want. Okay, so coming back over here, we're going to follow the instructions that are listed here. So I've already created a maze, which I'm just going to use. So come over here to the backdrop and different backdrops, and you just place the maze. Nope, let's try it over here then. So we'll go lesson guide, iteration, maze. And there it is. Now if you look at it, it's not quite centered. So a little trick here is that you can select the maze over here. And now I can move it around. I can also, if the maze was too small, move it around like that. Okay, so there, we'll just center them. And there we go. Now if we look at Scratch, he's a little bit too big, so we want to probably shrink him down. So up at the top here, we have the duplicate, delete, grow, and shrink tool. If you want to duplicate things, it's very easy with that stamp, but we'll want to shrink down Scratch. So we come over here to this image here. The reason we're clicking on the image itself is because if we don't do that with both of these, it will affect our animation when we make Scratch run. So we're going to place him down here. It's still a little bit too big, so we're going to shrink him one more time. And that should be about right. Okay, so then the next step, now we've got Scratch. Ready, we've got to do a little bit of coding. So that's all the images that we need. We now need to sort of program behind the scenes. So in the script, same as normal, we go to events when green flag is checked, which is up here. And we want Scratch to start in a certain location. So we go up here to go to. And if we just highlight here, it shows us in the X and Y down here what is position. So my position on my particular maze is 29, negative 166. So I go over here. 29, negative 166. Now every time I press the green flag, Scratch will start there. So no matter where I move Scratch through the maze, if I get stuck, I can now press the green flag and he'll go back to the beginning. Now we want to control Scratch, so we come back over here to the control. We go to forever, because he's going to be forever stuck in a loop. And we're going to do an basically if statement. So we're going to have the if statement. And we're going to have the different keys that we want. So we want to have if the up arrow is pressed, or actually on the tutorial we start with the left arrow, sorry, my bad. So we start with the left arrow. Now, basically what happens is this is your horizontal directions is your X value, and the vertical directions is the same as your Y value, same as mathematics. So what we're going to do is we're going to change his X position. Okay, so when the left arrow is pressed, we want to change this X position by -4. So that means it will go that way because this is the negative side of the x-axis. Okay, because if you see right in the middle here, it's about the origin, or 0, 0. So this way is negative, this way is positive, this way is positive, and this way is negative in the y-axis. So when we're dealing with the X, we want to do that. Now, we mentioned the duplicate button. So if I come over here and duplicate that saves me having to redo all that. And we're going to do it for all the 4 buttons. Come back up here to duplicate. And there we go. So now we want to do the right arrow. But instead of -4, we want that to be 4. And these two are going to change now. Instead of changing the X, we want to change the Y. Okay, so they change the Y. And when we press the up arrow, we want to change that by 45, sorry. And when we change the down arrow, we want to change the Y by -4. Awesome, so let's give that a little test because we love testing and seeing how the program is working at the moment. So if we press those keys, Scratch just floats around, and notice that he's not animated or anything like in the other example. So now we've got to move on to step 6 on the tutorial, which basically means next costume. So we go to looks, and we go down to next costume, And now what that will do, if we put that inside each of these statements, because we've got two different costumes, if we now press the play button, the green flag, Scratch now looks like he's animated when he moves around the screen. Okay, so, and sorry, right back at the beginning there was something I missed that was really important. We needed to create the cross for the finish. So you come back here to the paint tool, and we're just going to draw a red cross. So there, and we can make the width a lot wider. There's my cross. Now if you want to make this make more sense, instead of sprite 2, we actually should start labeling our sprites. So there's our cross. And there's Scratch. And this will make more sense when we're doing a little bit more of the programming. Okay, so there's our cross. Now that's a little bit too big, so again, come back up to the tool, shrink. Now you can either click here or here. With this, because there isn't multiple costumes, it's probably easier to click on the actual image editor, and we're going to make that the goal at the end there. Right, the next part. So we want Scratch basically to be able to bounce off these walls. So if we come back here to scripts, and we're going to use the touching color method. So basically the control, if it hits the left arrow is pressed, we want to check if it's touched the color black. So if we go to sensing and we go touching color and we click inside this purple box, notice that it now changes wherever the mouse is pointed to. So if I point on blue, it changes to blue. So just come over here in black and click on black. So now that will check if it's touching that. And then we want to change it. So instead of moving it by -4, we basically want it to bounce back. So the opposite of -4 is 4 in the x-axis. And then that's it. So now what we can do is come back to the duplicate tool, click on that, drag that down, and notice that it has to be inside the if statement. And then that's going to become -4. Back on the duplicate tool, click, drag that down. Instead of changing X, we want to change Y. And the opposite would be -4 on the Y. And then we'll go back to the duplicate tool, click on that, drag that down. And that will be 4. Fantastic. So now what should happen is whenever Scratch runs into the wall, he can't go past it. Okay, so now that the maze is effectively working. So in order to get to the goal, you have to keep moving him around until you get up here. Now nothing will happen yet because we haven't coded that. And that's the last step. So step 8, which is the final step, is basically we're going to put an if statement to see if it's hit the goal. So let's go down here to if, put it right down the bottom, and we're just going to have a sensing, and we're going to have touching. So we can actually touch different objects and sprites. So in this case, it's the mouse pointer. But if we click down here, notice that we've now, because we've labeled this as the cross, it's very clear that if it's touching that sprite. Okay, so if it touches that sprite, we go to looks, and we can then come down here and say I1. So now if we click this and start the program, still works around, comes all the way back. Yeah, he won. Now, some things to think about. Notice the Scratch can hack and run around the whole edge. So maybe you might want to put a black border around the edge here to stop him from being able to do that. And have some fun playing around with it. So some extension activities with this is you might want to add some lives to Scratch. So every time that if he hits the wall, he loses a life, or might want to have it if he hits the wall, he has to go back to the starting position. Have some fun with this. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your programming.